Students, 30,000 qualified applicants who cannot move on to tertiary education in schools like the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology and the University of Cape Coast. Now, this is because these schools closed admission April 30 before results of the 2014 WASSCE candidates were released, leaving the likes of University of Ghana, University of Education, University of Development Studies, and the University of Mines and Technology to absorb the numbers. However, the competition could get fierce for the limited space with the participation of past candidates in the process. What happens now to these 30,000 qualified applicants? I'm joined over the telephone by Samuel Kudjeto-Ablakwa. He's Deputy Minister of Education in charge of tertiary. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I believe I have over the telephone Vincent Nkrumah as well. Hello?
Yes, I'm online.
Right. So, okay. Samuel Kudjeto, you're also welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Samuel, let me start with you. What happens with these 30,000 qualified applicants?
Well, good morning to you and to all our viewers. It is important to appreciate that the 30,000 figure put out there could be misleading. The policy that applicants are allowed to apply to as many institutions of their choice as possible. So it is important to stress that we need to go behind those numbers and do the analysis to be able to ascertain whether applicant A, who applied to UCC, did not apply to Legon or UDS or the other institutions that are admitting students, including private universities, colleges of education, polytechnics, and other specialized tertiary institutions. So to just conclude, to take the numbers of people who apply to UCC and KNUST and put that figure out as people who are going to be left stranded. Our system doesn't work that way because there are multiple applications which are allowed. A student can apply to as many as 10 places, 15 places, and really the choice is there. That is why even if you talk to the universities, after they've done the admissions, they know that there are some students who will receive admissions, say for University of Cape Coast, but may receive admissions for 2 or 3 other universities, and they will make a choice. So that's why there's a period which you have to confirm acceptance, and there's even a waiting list that these institutions sometimes come up with. It's because of these dynamics. So the figure put out there, 30,000, is quite misleading.
I see. So, Samuel, I'm going to have you host the line. Vincent Nkrumah Lomote is Deputy Registrar with the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Vincent, I'm totally grateful for your patience. Vincent, did you admit any fresh candidates this year?
Thank you very much. What we did was to open up applications for admissions from last year, December, through to this year, March. And so for those whose results were ready and available at the time, they could apply for admission. But for those who have just received their results, it's rather late for them to apply, so they can do that around December this year.
So there's still room for them to go to school in these institutions. For instance, with your institution, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, there is still hope.
Yes, there is hope. We haven't turned them down. They can apply in December and then come in August next year.
August next year?
Yes, ma'am. I
see. And so, how come we couldn't admit them the first time?
Okay, as I indicated, we had opened up applications for admissions for those whose results were available. This decision was informed by the fact that we were hitherto waiting for the results to come before we process admissions, and then run a shorter semester, and then put a bit of pressure on the system to be able to complete the syllabus. But this time around, we want to run a full semester, taking cognizance of the fact that the 4-year SHS system had phased out. And so we needed to mop up the system. Those who had their results last year, we couldn't take all of them. Thousands of them were still in the system. And so we needed to mop them up and go back to a system that had already existed before we had the two streams of SHS, 4-year and 3-year group.
So your admission timelines have changed. That's what you're saying?
It has not really changed. What we have done is to revert to the system where we ran a 16-week semester from August to December. But we needed to suspend that temporarily because of a system that was in place. That was the 4-year SHS and 3-year SHS. Hoping that when the 4-year system phases out, then we'll go back to the original system that has been in existence. So this is nothing new. It's been there already.
I see. But this being in place, does it not change for those who are no longer on the 4-year system? Does the timeline not affect them so that then results may come at the time when admissions would have closed?
As I said, it's a system that we're already running, so we've gone back to it. In effect, well, for us, it doesn't affect them in any way, in the sense that they will have their results in hand and then apply in December and make informed choices. That notwithstanding, it doesn't mean that the system we are running is the best. We had all hoped that there will be a system where you leave the senior high school within 3-4 months, you are in the university. So originally, this has been the system where results are released in August, candidates apply in December, and then they come to school the following year.
I see. Vincent, I'm going to have you host the line. Let me just talk to Samuel over the next few minutes. So, Samuel, this 30,000 number, when we look at the 4 remaining public schools, can these schools provide space for them, for all 30,000?
Yeah, I have indicated to you that it is important to go behind the numbers and that there are many options available to these applicants. So we need to appreciate that. And we also have to bear in mind that tertiary education is very, very competitive. The fact that KNUST and UCC are not admitting students this year, which I must indicate that government did everything possible to try to change the situation. There are even other institutions that wanted to do same, but we managed to get them to admit students who were completing this year. I recall meetings with UMass, University of Ghana, and it's important to state that government policy is that ideally, once you finish your WASSCE and you have met the entry requirements, you should be able to progress to the next level. Because we don't have the old system where after secondary school you can do national service and then after tertiary you do another 1 year of national service. Now national service is only after tertiary, so it's important to avoid that where you have young ones at that age who may be idle and may get involved in wrong things or all kinds of vices. So the point I'm making is that having taken cognizance of all of these efforts and what government policy is, we need to also state that there are so many options. We do not have only public universities in this country. There, apart from the 8 other public universities you have, apart from KNUST and UCC, you have 60 private universities, you have 38 colleges of education, you have 10 techniques, and you have some other specialized institutions, about 43 of them. So there are options available, but as I've indicated to you, tertiary education is very competitive. And the fact that KNUST and UCC are not admitting students who wrote the WASSCE this year, and yet have so many qualified applicants who are applying, we need to look at that side of the discussion also. Those are also Ghanaians who have been waiting, who for all kinds of reasons were not able to enter last year or last 3 years. There's a huge backlog. So the other advantage about this development is that the backlog is being cleared by KNUST, by UCC, which is also commendable. So I think that we need to balance the discussion, taking into cognizance of all of these factors as we still work out the ideal government policy, which is that no matter when you finish your WASSCE, you should be able to do it. KNUST had told us that WAEC releases the results a bit too late so far as their programming is concerned. And so sometimes it even delays the start of their academic year. That is why they decided to join UCC. As for UCC, traditionally, they have always done this. But nonetheless, we are still trying to speak to the stakeholders. WAEC is critical in this. The university administrators are also very critical in this discussion. And we hope that between WAEC and the universities, they will be able to agree on a flexible arrangement which will allow for students to be able to apply anytime, regardless of which year they complete their secondary education.
Right. But there was also government assurance that a quota was going to be reserved for these fresh applicants.
Can you take that again, please?
I was asking about government's assurance that indeed a quota was going to be reserved for the fresh applicants.
Yes, you know that we had engaged the universities and engaged WAEC, and the indication we picked was that indeed a quota will be reserved. And that is why, if you notice, University of Ghana, UMAT, University for Development Studies, University for Health and Allied Sciences, University of Professional Studies Accra, all of them who gave us their commitment have done it, and they did reserve a quota for those who completed this year. It was KNUST that they were very forthright that they are not going to be able to take those who are completing this year. So I think that, to be fair, KNUST and UCC have been consistent, and all those who made a commitment to government that they will admit, they are also going ahead to admit.
But you see, Samuel, for the students at home who wanted to apply to the KNUST or to the UCC, he or she was not given a fair ground, considering, well, the results, one, did not come early enough for he or she to apply to the KNUST or the UCC.
Well, it depends on what you want to define fair ground, because the point can also be made that they knew from the beginning that KNUST and UCC would not be admitting fresh candidates from WASSCE, and also that there are many other options available to them. Luckily, there are lots of programs which you have options so far as these academic disciplines are concerned. It's not only one institution that runs these programs. So you have options in other universities, in other tertiary institutions. So I think that it's to be a bit difficult to begin to give fairness and all of that. I think that there are many opportunities that are available for those who they have been shocked. Even if you did not know that UCC and KNUST was not admitted, I do know that even as we speak, some admission is going on within some other institutions, some of the public universities, some of the private universities.
So, Samuel, I'm going to have you hold the line again. Vincent.
Yes.
Can we compromise in the future on when we close admission days? What can we do so fresh candidates could have an opportunity?
Thank you very much. I would have to agree with the Honorable Minister. He said it so well, and I do agree. Looking forward, we're hoping that there will be an initiative, maybe from the level of the ministry, bring all public universities together, sort of a stakeholders engagement, and let's all look at the way forward. And I believe that there are possible ways we can all have a uniform academic calendar, a uniform mode of admission, and then perhaps we'll be able to have a breakthrough.
I see. Vincent, I'm going to let you off here. Thank you very much. Vincent Nkrumah Nomote is Deputy Registrar at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Still over the phone with me, Samuel Kujeto-Ablakwa is Deputy Minister of Education in charge of tertiary. Samuel, WAEC tells me that indeed the universities are represented on their board. Was it not possible for them to have reached some sort of a compromise so things don't get to this point?
Yes, I believe that certainly was a possibility. I must indicate to you that things would have been worse. There were many other universities that had wanted to do same, but the negotiations worked out well, and they all rescinded their decision as we speak, admitting fresh candidates. I believe that we will continue with the engagement, and UCC, which has been doing this traditionally, and KNUST, which has just joined UCC, I believe that we should be able to work out something. It really has to do with how soon WAEC can make the results available to them. And WAEC has indicated to us that they are really committed to ensure that they can improve on their efficiency and their delivery. So I see a way out, and I think that we have one good year to be able to resolve this moving forward. But please, as I indicated, let us stress that there are many, many options available. Government policy allowed for you to engage in multiple applications and for you to try out as many institutions as possible as you wish. So these figures that we are putting out, I think that it would be unfair to state at this time that 30,000 children are going to stay at home. Let us go behind the numbers and then do the analysis of the various options which are available, which have been taken. It is after that time that we can really know the real effect of what the
Samuel, I think the reports here did not say that these 30,000 qualified applicants will stay at home. It actually said they will only denied admission into the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology as well as the UCC. And that's why we've been exploring if indeed UMAT, UDS, University of Ghana, and the last one, which I can't remember, would be able to absorb the 30,000 number that we have at this moment. We admit that indeed there are options, but for those who would want to enter the public university for one reason or the other, can the 30,000 number be absorbed by the remaining 4?
If you look at the enrollment numbers, they are quite huge. We have about 130,000 that are admitted into the public universities every year. So if you are just looking at general absorption, well, you can say that it is possible. But you need to go beyond that and also look at the cutoff point. Because depending on the program, last year, medicine, you needed to have 8 A's before you could, and even with the 8 A's, you have to go and write an entrance exam. An interview will follow subsequently before you are picked. Law at Legon was 6 A's, 2 B's. So it's very competitive. So it's not as if once you have met the minimum entry requirement, you can progress. It depends on the cutoff point in every discipline, every program, every school that you want to attend. So it's a more complex matter than just looking at general absorption to the universities. It has many other facets. It depends on the program you want to offer. It depends on the strength of your grades. It depends on the availability of space in that particular program and the competition in that particular year. So there are other factors.
Samuel, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much. Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa is a Deputy Minister of Education. But if you're wondering what the West African Examination Council here in Ghana is, what role it played in all of this, I had a conversation with a PRO for the council, Agnes Tekujo. Yes, sir. Agnes, thank you very much for joining us here on News Desk.
You're welcome.
How come results were released later than admission dates? That's a lot of questions parents are asking.
Results have not been released later than admission date. WAEC has released these results as scheduled. We're scheduled to release results by the middle of August, and that is what we did.
I see. But reports have it that some schools are not admitting students because results were released dates later than the admission time closed.
Well, then you need to find out from the universities why they did that this year. because we have always been, the WASSCE is an international exam, and we come out with the period for the exam and then the target date for release of results, and that has not changed over the years. We have been conducting the WASSCE since 2006. Results have always been released in August, and the investors, I think from about 2011, started using the WASSCE to release, to admit candidates who had taken the exam for that very year. If this year they have changed things, well, I think that we are still going according to our plan.
Is there any working relationship between WAEC and the universities?
Yes, WAEC collaborates with the universities in so many instances. We even have members of the universities on our board.
And so for you, it's impossible that you could conflict on dates for the release of examination results.
We haven't changed the way we have been doing things. Those who have changed are the investors. So you need to talk to them and find out why is that this year they are not taking results of candidates who started the exam earlier. I was listening to one radio station, and they said they have gone back to the way the KNUST.
You see, that is why that is why I asked about a working relationship, because then, if that is the case, for the ministry to even come out to say that they had asked the universities to leave a quota of admission for the fresh candidates in the recently ended WAEC exams, then I really don't see how. We need to clear the relationship that exists. Why would the ministry?
There is no problem with the relationship. The relationship is clear. When we release results, the investors come for the results online. That is what they use to do the admission and everything. But nothing has changed.
You see, Agnes, what then you tell me now is the fact that it's probably the investors that had changed their format of admission.
That's what I'm saying.
And WAEC is unaware of this. That's how you come across.
Maybe you need to tell me what you expect WAEC to do. Do you expect us to conduct our exams earlier so that we can release the results 3 months ahead of time? Is that what you're saying?
I would want to know, within that working relationship, what inputs did WAEC make into all of the changes? What happened? Was there a discussion about the changes? Because if WAEC is an international exam, like you've said, and hence nothing has changed, but the university that WAEC has a working relationship changed its form of admission, and WAEC didn't make any input so that the students who come out do not get into any situation as this. And WAEC will tell us that you haven't changed, and then that's it. It doesn't sound interesting, does it?
Well, I don't know what you are driving at, because if the investors are saying this year that, like they used to do maybe 5 years ago, when you finish the exam, you take your results the following year, and they are going back to that. I don't think why I can convince them not to do that.
I guess what I'm trying to ask is, what is the extent of working relationship between WAEC and the
We are not involved, or WAEC does not is not involved into the dates or how the universities do the dates that they use to admit candidates. When the results are released, we have a relationship with the investors as to how they can access the results, how they can use the results for admission and all that. But as to when the investors decide to, well, we are deciding that this year we are not taking candidates who wrote the exam the same year. That is not part of WAEC's mandate.
Thank you very much, Agnes. So let me know what you think if you're a student who's been denied admission into Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, or WASSCE, and what options you believe are available for you. But we've heard from the Deputy Minister in charge of tertiary education, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa. There's going to be a stakeholder meeting to avert this sort of challenge in the future. He says that indeed this could have been worse but for the intervention of the ministry. So we have 4 other universities. Hopefully they may be able to absorb the 30,000. If you don't fall within the absorption number, you might want to look to the over 60 private universities we have here in the country. That's according to Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa. Let's